So there are a few ways this book gets a little too close for comfort given the current situation that we're all living in. First of all, this crisis that the protagonist mentions. It starts with a cough. Of course, nobody looked sick when they first caught it. This is what the author says. But pretty soon after, they would be coughing and their eyes would be red from all the burst blood vessels, and a few days after the cough started, well, it was deceptively mild at first, that cough. Just a dry throat that didn't seem to go away, and then suddenly it was much more. Okay, so this isn't exactly the same symptoms of COVID-19, but the cough is still a significant part of it. And starting out deceptively mild, also a part of it. In addition to that, there's a spot on page 22 where the protagonist is reminiscing about the days leading up to when she had to find her grandmother all by herself by traveling through the woods. And so she's describing what people are doing leading up to and after this crisis. The first thing that disappears from stores when there's anything resembling an emergency is bottled water. Okay, kind of true, kind of not true. I mean, how would the author possibly know that people would freak out over toilet paper? Toilet paper. What's wrong with people? The water I get. The author, I think, was reasonable in assuming people would freak out over water. But lo and behold, water is only number 2 on people's list. People in America live in terror of going without water, a resource that is, or was, ridiculously abundant in that country. As soon as it became clear that the disease was spreading faster than anyone realized, and that folks were going to have to dig in or evacuate or whatever, the cases of bottled water flew out of grocery stores like they'd sprouted wings. We are seeing that, actually, a little bit. On the news, there had been the inevitable footage of people fighting like animals over the last few cases of water in a grocery store. Check! But also, the news footage of people fighting like animals over toilet paper. Whenever Red, the name of the protagonist, saw this kind of thing, she always wondered why the person filming hadn't tried to help or intervene instead of taking video of his fellow man at his worst. Excellent question, Red/author. Reminds me a little bit of a particular episode of Black Mirror on Netflix. My favorite episode of the whole series is this woman who, the whole time you're watching, you think that these people are chasing her. Spoiler alert, it's actually all just this really messed up minds you-know-what, where the people who are chasing her are just recording her in her misery instead of helping. Okay, spoiler alert for Black Mirror done. Back to the book. So then it talks a little bit about her family's preparations. Her parents are professors at a particular college or university. It doesn't say which one. We'll get to that later. But then it says that all of the college courses, all of the classes were closed. Now in the book, the crisis happens over the summer, so they simply don't start classes in the fall. In real life, we might end up having to end our academic years a little bit early, doing online courses or whatnot. And some people think, and I don't think this is ridiculous, some people think that this might not be over this summer, and so it is quite possible, actually, that classes won't be opening up again in the fall. So on page 25, it says, Red's brother was only home at all because his university term hadn't begun when the outbreak started, and as a precaution, they told all the students to stay home until the danger passed, thinking, correctly in Red's opinion, that a dormitory was the perfect petri dish for spreading disease. I agree. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense that the colleges and universities now have sent students home, although I do get how frustrating and inconvenient and hard it can be to then just all of a sudden, all right, pack up your stuff and leave. Hope you have a place to stay. See you later. Not to mention the fact that if any of the students, say in Boston, had COVID 19, they've now taken it back with them to their hometowns and their families, potentially further spreading the disease. Let's just hope that they didn't have it to begin with. And then it says, the danger had never passed. It had only gotten worse. Despite quarantines and precautions and the supposed late-night efforts of desperate doctors to find and manufacture a vaccine to stop the nightmare that was rolling across the country. Well, this doesn't bode well for us in the real world, now does it? Because right now we're at the part of the quarantines and the precautions and the desperate effort for people to manufacture vaccines. Hopefully, we don't end up having a crisis like the author is predicting. Obviously, predicting that we will.